Hey there, thanks for joining me for a cast of MLG Anaheim 2011 Open Bracket Replays, brought to you by me, Lokazi, and MLG of course. This is RGN Spades versus Complexity's Trimaster. Spades spawning here on the left-hand side of the map as the red Terran. This is MLG Dual Site. It is a 2v2 player map, or 1v1 player map with only two specific spawn locations. Complexity Trimaster spawning over here on the right-hand side as the blue Terran, and we're going to see what has been going on so far. Both these players, this is round 4, so they've gone through 3 rounds of other players in the open bracket, cruising their way up, and if they get eliminated here, they get knocked down into the lower bracket, I believe, and have a chance to battle out of that as a double elimination. Both players doing the standard opening of walling up, it looks like, the top of their ramp, to prevent Blue Flame Hellion run-bys, which have become extraordinarily common lately, especially after NASL, as well as throughout this MLG. They were actually extremely common to see and watch. So let's see what's going on here. I actually haven't casted this map in particular before, but it has some nice actual graphical effects. The cliffs are all vined up and fancy, so that's pretty awesome. We have the first delineation here. Trimaster building his barracks a little bit further back and starting his refinery right away. Both of them about the same build time on their refineries. RNG Spades just a little bit ahead. Trimaster sneaking in here first, getting some good sight. He sees that it is a exact mirror build order so far, but he's going to get forced out of there without getting too much more information. And in the meantime, RGN Spades is just making his way over here. He's going to get in. The Marine is going to spawn partway through his scouting. Oh no! Actually dropping a tech lab here on this barracks, which would be why Trimaster built it a little bit further back instead of walling up at the top of his ramp. In the meantime, Spades is just going to wall up on the top of his ramp, and I think Reaper is a good choice for this map. There's some pretty large areas for cliff jumping here. It should be pretty interesting to see. Spades is going to have to position correctly to anticipate these Reapers coming across the map, so we'll see if he does that. Looks like Trimaster building up his front wall a little bit more. So far, nothing too crazy. The Reaper is halfway done. He'll be heading across the map. Spades has positioned 2 of his Marines here on the right-hand side, but if Trimaster sweeps down right here, it can actually get up into the mineral line and do quite a lot of damage, as well as even jumping up right up here at the top. There's just a lot of surface area for these cliffs, and having casted Trimaster before in the past, he's a pretty big fan of the Reaper opening in Terran vs. Terran, so not too surprising that he has gone out here. It looks like he is going for the 1 Rax expand build. In the meantime, Spades is dropping a factory here in the north part of his base, which if Trimaster hops up in that area, he will scout it immediately, and that'll provide some good insight. And it looks like Spades is building a reactor on his barracks, so he's either going to swap that with the factory and pump out a bunch of Hellions and go for some type of early Marine Hellion push, or he's going to... Ooh, is Trimaster going to pick that off? Nope. He actually has to back up. Takes quite a lot of shots there on that Reaper, and now Spades is alerted to the Reaper's presence right here next to his base, so he's going to be very careful about that. And it does look like it's going to be some type of maybe Hellion Marine drop play, as Spades is dropping his starport right now. In the meantime, Trimaster has dropped his expansion, and it is about 75% of the way done. Another 2 Raxes are coming up here. Stim being researched by Trimaster, Stim a great way to hold off drop play, as it gets you in position and really puts a lot of hurt on those medvacs. And Spades is going to go try and take some map control with this 1 Hellion he built, and it looks like he's going to convert right into siege tanks. He is dropping the tech lab on his factory and dropping a command center, so it doesn't look like it's going to be early harass play. Maybe Banshees, actually. Now he's swapping these. A Banshee expand. But Trimaster does see it, so he's going to know what is up here. And that Reaper, which I think was a new Reaper actually, got picked off and is now dead. Yeah, it was a new Reaper. The other one is barracked at the bunkered at the expansion of Trimaster back there. Both players at very similar SCV counts, despite Trimaster having his expansion up a little bit sooner, but it is converted to an orbital, so he is going to get quite a good bit of income ahead based on those. We have the engineering bay up. Stim so close to finishing. More Marines coming out. a missile turret going up in one of the mineral lines, not the mineral line at the expansion though. Interesting. And that first Banshee headed across the field for Spades. Quite a lot of Marines on the field over here on Spades' side of the map. No other additional tech coming out, and right as I say it, Blue Flame Hellions started up out of Spades here, so it's going to be a lot of harassment play out of Spades, which of course when you're watching Terran vs. Terran, and Terran vs. anything really, harassment is the name of the game for Terrans. Now there wasn't cloak researched here for Spades, so he's going to roll up, pick off one SCV, two SCVs, and oh, the Banshee gets away with 2 HP. 2 HP. Trimaster almost picked that off and made it worthwhile. Or made it not worthwhile, but Spades saved it and retreated. He is just parking this Banshee over here though, which is kind of an interesting choice. I think it would probably be a little bit better to run it back to his base and repair it. In the meantime, Spades, his expansion is finished. It was converted to an orbital. It lifts off, lands, and he's starting up his 3rd and 4th gas here right away. Trimaster in the meantime is running on 3 gas. He's just now getting his factory, so very heavy bio build out of Trimaster here. He has missile turrets in pretty good locations. It's going to pick off it's going to get pot shots at any Banshee that's rolling this way, as well as granting sight, but mainly it's positioned there, and these 2 supply depots are positioned here to prevent Blue Flame Hellion run-ins and massive amounts of damage. And this Banshee did come back to base, and it did only get 1 kill, it looks like. I guess it took down the HP of the 2nd SCV, and it is getting repaired. So pretty ineffectual on both sides there. Trimaster's just finishing up his +1, so he's going to have an upgrade advantage on Spades. And Spades adding another factory, it looks like. He's moving right into the siege tank production with full force here now that he's picked up his 3rd and 4th gases. He's getting a little bit of a wall going on at his expansion. I'm not really sure why he's placing it there. He needs to place a building there so Hellions can't get behind his mineral line. But there's a large force of Blue Flame Hellions out in the middle of the field, and these Zelnaga watchtowers are warp gates that are, I'm sorry, gateways that turn into warp gates when powered. That's kind of interesting. I like that. They're blue. This one down here is red. It's kind of cool. Interesting little piece for dual sight here. And this Banshee getting shot and turned away as it scouts the base up here. Stim moving up, and so many Blue Flame Hellions. They are going to rip through these Marines if they're not spread out correctly. Pretty good exchange actually for the Marines. A pretty almost dead even exchange in number of Marines. And these Hellions actually aren't able to get past. They actually have to walk up to this bunker to get past. And there they go, down those Blue Flame Hellions. I think they picked off 2, maybe 3 SCVs over here. In the meantime, Trimaster decided this is a good time to push out in retaliation, counter push. But he's going to run into 2 siege tanks, 4 Blue Flame Hellions, a bunker, and quite a few Marines. So unless he's going to be working with some drop play with these 2 Medvacs and 8 Marines and a Marauder, I'm not sure he's going to meet with much success. In the meantime, Trimaster building a armory, so he'll be able to upgrade to +1 or +2 infantry upgrades here soon. His infrastructure is roaring along. He is up to 3 factories against the currently 3 factories, though one of them is pumping out Blue Flame Hellions. Trimaster's getting a drop in here as Spades is across the map, getting some good damage, forcing all these SCVs off the mineral line. He's going to pick off maybe 1 or 2 SCVs amongst this. Yeah, he's picking off a few SCVs, and these Vikings are taking out the 2 medvacs. All those Marines roasted down, but pretty good aggression there. And it did stop this, well, it pulled back the timing push here of Spades, who's now rolling across the map, and Trimaster needs to get ready to defend this with his limited number of siege tanks. We'll see if he'll be able to hold this. He's just kind of running across the map. Actually engages the Hellions out in the open. Very good exchange for him, actually. And all the Blue Flame Hellions down, actually, so now the Marines can come into play a little bit more effectively with all those dead. 4 siege tanks set up very well here, though there is no air control for Trimaster, so he's actually going to get this first tank siege down pretty well here. Viking rolling up right now for Trimaster, regaining air control for him. Air control, oh, that Viking has 1 HP. It's worth it to stim a Marine in. So one siege tank has been lost on each side, others taking a little bit of damage. Second Viking rolling up. And the first Viking does get finished off by the Marines, and a little bit of a bad exchange there for Trimaster. He rolls in with a few Marines, loses them needlessly, and did not pull back and repair that first Viking. He does have one in the air right now for air control. In the meantime, it looks like just pure mech almost out of Spades. Interesting push build. It's like watching two goodies play with all these tanks. And it looks like Trimaster has finished up his third and is moving it. At the same time, Spades has finished up his third and is moving it. Trimaster's is already in orbital though. But there's a lot more pressure over here on Trimaster's third. There's a Hellion part preventing the landing of Trimaster's third. And these SCVs actually might all get roasted by this Hellion. Oh no. Oh no. This is the most boss Hellion ever. He's very excited that he got to kill all these SCVs that rolled up. He does get picked off, but he did kill 4 SCVs, so very good exchange for his life. One Marauder standing in the middle of the field just tanking a few Hellions over here. And the siege tank force of Spades is moving across the middle of the map, supported by a few Marines and half a dozen Hellions, it looks like. Stimmed Marines rolling up on these siege tanks, trying to get what damage they can before they get sieged up. And Trimaster picking up a decent location here in the middle, but Spades definitely has the advantage location as he has the Xel'Naga Watchtower providing free sight across the map. And there's some type of Protoss advertising core in the middle of the map here. Trimaster spreading out his siege tanks a little bit, making sure he gets coverage of his expansion to prevent Hellions rolling in there. And we have a force of Spades moving up, who look like they're going to be able to siege and deal some pretty good damage, probably take out the refinery, missile turret, and these 2 supply depots. The Marines that are rolling up to try and get back there though, that's a little bit ambitious. This one Marine has 1 HP, providing sight up there in the front. 2 Vikings rolling across the map here for Spades, and they are going to get air superiority shifted back into his favor. Now there are no Vikings spotting for those other tanks, and these 5 tanks are going to be able to move up and siege these 4 tanks with this air superiority. Trimaster has to be really careful here. Good scan, getting 2 shots off on the tanks, taking out 1, severely wounding a second, and slightly damaging the third, so it was a 2 for 1.5 kind of deal there. Not the best of exchanges, but not the worst considering he did lose air superiority. In the meantime, Spades does have a lockdown on this north Xel'Naga Watchtower, and it looks like he's going to try and lock down the south Xel'Naga. But Trimaster moving forward with a big force of Marines and Marauders here, taking out 2 siege tanks, 3 siege tanks, and a Hellion for pretty much nothing. Okay, now a Marauder dies. But a very good exchange there for Trimaster. Looks like he's going to try and move down and put pressure on the third here of Spades, who does not have siege tanks in position to defend it actually. If Trimaster moves up right now, he can deal a significant amount of damage. And it looks like Spades was preparing to take his 4th down here in the bottom right, but that has been halted. And Trimaster moving into position, sieging up here. He's going to get that siege tank immediately taken out. Smartly lifting his orbital, moving back with that. So it's now a 3 base versus 2 base situation, so Trimaster is out gathering Spades here, but Spades does have some really good map control. He has the Xel'Naga, he has this high ground right here leading into his second, so there's very little chance Trimaster's going to be able to push up and take that. In the meantime, it looks like Spades is just going to go ahead and transfer up to this third that is towards his opponent's base, though admittedly he does have this Xel'Naga, so he has a very solid position, and as if to demonstrate my exact words, a large force of Marines and Marauders were just eaten alive by those 5 siege tanks, who have quite a few kills amongst them actually, about 30 kills-ish between them. Trimaster did manage to break this siege over here on the left-hand side of his, that Marine that had 1 HP just died, the siege over here on the left-hand side of his 3rd base. He did break it. It looks like he got some Vikings over there and pushed out the other Vikings. Trimaster trying to move along with some hit squads, scans, sees 3 siege tanks and thinks, yeah, no, that's not going to happen, I'll just back up. And in the meantime, Spades did re-land his 3rd, and he has a massive siege tank line protecting it and his 2nd. Though some pretty good drop play right here could actually be very effective, though Trimaster does not know that Spades has taken a 4th, so that's kind of the hampering situation there. There's a random barracks floating in the top northwest corner of the map that I really don't understand. And this is quite an obscene amount of siege tanks, actually. Very large amount of siege tanks. There are 23 siege tanks and 24, not a single Marine on the field for Spades. In the meantime, Trimaster has 7, is researching 3-3 on his melee, and is hoping to win with that, but I think this siege right here is the end of Trimaster's hopes in this game. That is just so many siege tanks. And the ground force is just getting absolutely murdered. Having to lift up this orbital, and the SCVs do make it away. Trimaster should probably drop Marines on top of these siege tanks that are all sieged. Oh, now they are now unsieged. And Spades taking a good map position and actually moving to take the 5th base, which is a gold expansion over here. Trimaster in the meantime moving and picking up his 4th, which Spades has been working on for quite a while here. These Vikings just kind of following around these siege tanks thinking, are you going to build any more Vikings for me to kill? So I'd like to do that. And Trimaster trying to move down here with a force of Marines and Marauders with a medvac to try and take out any expansion and harass. But that did not work out so well. There are a lot of siege tanks, and they are going to rip this orbital command apart. It does lift off. They're now eating through that SCV line. And that is just so many siege tanks. The Viking says, no, I'm not going to do that. That's ridiculous. I'm just going to land and walk around with these siege tanks. So, being supply blocked there for a second, it looked like Spades has dropped a few more supply depots. Is mining at his 3rd and 4th quite swimmingly, though his 4th hasn't been converted to anything, and he's not running full harvesters off of his gas at his 3rd. Trimaster, in the meantime, just sent SCVs to the 3rd of his base. 3rd base of his, there we go. And it is looking very grim for Trimaster, as he has 113 supply to RNG Spades' 200 max supply siege tank army. And it is quite literally a siege tank army. There's nothing but siege tanks here. Trimaster sieging up on this high ground up here. He's going to get some good shots off on these tanks. This might be the battle he needs to swing it back in his favor, but look at all those tanks shift their focus and just rip apart the smaller number of tanks of Trimaster. Trimaster again having to lift his 3rd. And these exchanges are really great for Spades. He is banking an extremely large amount of minerals and quite a good bit of gas. And this randomly placed barracks was actually placed to see the gold expansion when it was going to be coming up. So he can send like 2 Hellions over there, which, wow, 2 Hellions are going over there. Kind of weird. Two Hellions over there to just rip apart any of the mules that are dropped on that gold. Instead, they've decided that they would like to barbecue this orbital command, which is of course armored and is only taking 7 damage a shot from this, so maybe not the best choice. I would probably take out the 3 mules, bringing back like 400 gold a second. And we have those 2 getting ripped apart. Siege tanks moving up, re-sieging, scan on top of all of Trimaster's tanks. I do not think they're going to survive this engagement. Trimaster did drastically even up the number of tanks though, compared to what it was, which was 24-7. Let's see what it's at now. Now it's 18-2. So, okay, maybe not. Well, no, still a better exchange for Trimaster, but it's not going to be enough. Spades just has too many bases right now. He is mass dropping Raxes, which is what you do when you're floating this many minerals, and then he's just going to drop reactors on all these and just pump out Marines, just fodder forever, and just keep trying to contain Trimaster on these bases, and he's going to be able to do it. Spades has swapped over to some Thor production, which does clear out medvacs extremely fast. Very good choice there. But Trimaster does have quite a few Marauders, which of course eat Thors for breakfast. So both of those medvacs were lost and quite a few Marines, but the Marauders did clean up the rest of it. Spades has been forced back onto his side of the map, it looks like. Trimaster with a Banshee on the field with stealth, though he did not stealth it. I believe it had stealth. No, it didn't have stealth. On his side of the field, and Trimaster moving in with some Marauders, taking out quite a few SCVs. There's some scrap metal to see. And these Marauders are like, alright, we're just going to try and walk by all these siege tanks. And he's now going to get to work on the mineral line. But be surrounded by SCVs and killed. Though he does have 4 armor, so those SCVs are actually only dealing 1 damage a hit with those fusion cutters. Trying to shank there. And somehow Trimaster, I think, lost. No, his Vikings are just chilling in the middle of the field while this Viking takes out his orbital, which probably isn't the best choice. And we have the random barracks again floating around, getting some good scouting information there for Spades, making it so he does not have to use scans, which are very important in these tank position fights. And Trimaster is still at a limited supply against Spades here, though he has just forced the 3rd up, well the 4th I guess up, from Spades here. But I think Trimaster's base in the top left is not going to live very much longer. These Marauders playing a little bit of Ring Around the Rosie with all these siege tanks, who actually happen to be following all of them. Vikings down in the middle of the field, they're going to rip apart this barracks to regain air sight advantage, therefore Trimaster. But it is currently 4 siege tanks versus 20 siege tanks, so that probably is not going to work out well. Interestingly enough, there are no upgrades on any of Spades' units. He didn't opt for anything besides siege mode the entire game. I don't even think he got stim. Just a pure mech build. Blue Flame and siege tanks, that's it. And Trimaster has been forced again back down onto 2 bases. He did go with a drop, or maybe just a stim down here push. Yeah, it looks like a stim down here push based on their HP. And he is ripping apart all these barracks down here that were built to get rid of the minerals of our Spades. But I don't think it's going to be enough. Spades is not researching, actually, stim at all. He might have been researching it and cancelled when Trimaster moved down here. And Trimaster actually scrappily staying in this game fairly well, though I really think Spades could roll up with the siege tanks and just end the game. Excuse me. I don't really understand why he's just moving around the map trying to keep up with these extremely fast units of Trimaster who went with this infantry play. When you're mech, you just really need to push forward with just a giant hammer blow and finish it, which is what he should be doing right now. Is there are only 4 siege tanks on the field, I think, in total for Trimaster? And Trimaster's just drop playing everywhere. All these SCVs are going to get ripped apart as they run away, taking out the orbital down there on the left. So now Trimaster has actually evened it up to 3 base, just because Spades is running around the map with his entire army. And that Banshee does get ripped apart by the 4th horse there. Trimaster standing up for a second there, but then sees that they're all sieging and is forced to back up. Those Vikings getting cleared out fairly easily by the Thors, sending them back. Giving sight back to the siege tanks. And the Thors are really good for keeping the Vikings back because they have longer range than the Vikings almost have sight. Useful sight for the siege tanks. So there's no real way to move forward, and then yeah, this is the final hammer blow here being dealt by Spades to Trimaster, who stayed in a very good amount of time, but just not enough for all those siege tanks. There are very few things that can counter this amount of siege tanks at this point in the game. Staying scrappy and taking out all the bases, good way to stay in the game. Keeping the opponent off his feet, running around with his entire army. Trimaster did the best job he could, but it is down to 70 supply here for Trimaster, and I just don't think he's going to be able to hold it off. There's still a siege line right outside of his base, and his 3rd, which has been mining, or his 4th gold, but has been lifting up back and forth, dropping mules, is now being finished up. Meanwhile, 4 more siege tanks and 2 Hellions are rolling across the field here. Big scans going down on both sides. Trimaster is going to try and move up and siege, but all of those units are actually going to be running away. Good stim in there by Trimaster, picking off 2 Thors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tanks. Very nicely done by Trimaster. And that's the power of the infantry in this game. They can actually wipe out a large amount of mech units if the siege tanks aren't sieged. There's really no way for mech to be able to hold on to that. And it looks like SCVs have been pulled to repair these mech units out here at the front. But all the damaged ones are actually the ones that just got eliminated by Trimaster, so that's not too helpful. Siege tanks wasting their shelling on the Blue Flame Hellions actually as the unsieged siege tanks roll up. And these Marines are going to deal an okay amount of damage, but they're just not going to be enough here as these siege tanks rip through them. The AI of the Marines actually fires on the repairing SCVs. So those siege tanks did rip through those Marines very quickly without actually losing very many himself. Trimaster does lose this first game. RGN Spades, takes the first game here in this series of the winners bracket of, well, the continued winners bracket, I guess, of the open tournament of MLG Anaheim 2011. This was Lokazi casting for you. If you could check me out at youtube.com/Lokazi, that's Lokazi, for more videos. This one will be up after it has had its 2-week run there, exclusive run on the MLG website. And I look forward to catching you guys, watching more replays, and catching you guys next game. See you then.